Ukrainian drones have struck Russia's Tuapse oil refinery on the Black Sea, causing a fire, that's according to Russian authorities. Footage shows smoke billowing from the site. Officials ordered nearby areas to evacuate. The same refinery was hit earlier this month, leading to an oil spill and a blaze that took several days to put out. Russia says Ukraine has been increasingly targeting its oil facilities. Audrey McAlpine joins us live now from Kyiv. So the second time, Audrey, this refinery town, Tuapse, has been hit. Do we know what has been impacted on this occasion?
Yeah, this is actually, in fact, the third time in the past 2 weeks that the Tuapse oil refinery has been targeted. On April 16th was the initial strike that caused fires to be struck throughout the refinery. And then again on April the 20th was an additional strike that relit those fires and took out 25 oil storage facilities within the refinery. And then again, we saw overnight additional strikes that have been claimed by the general staff of Ukraine's armed forces. And as you mentioned, Neve, this is a trend that we've been seeing really since mid-March or so, where Ukraine has targeted Russian oil refineries, both in the south and in the north, and really in response to growing sanctions, or rather the lifting of sanctions from the United States on Russia's oil.
And Audrey, am I right in thinking that Ukraine has actually taken responsibility for this attack? And how does all of this fit into the wider pattern of attacking strategic sites and resources? Because I understand a Russian grain ship has received a warning from the Ukrainian military.
So Ukraine's general staff did claim responsibility for this most recent attack. And all of this really comes down to sanctions. In the case of these strikes on oil refineries, these have largely, as I mentioned, been in response to U.S. putting a waiver on sanctions on Russian oil in light of the war in Iran. And really, those waivers were just recently extended until May 16th, which Zelenskyy has expressed his unhappiness with, basically saying that he would, really scale down these attacks once sanctions went back to as they were before the war in Iran. And then there is a separate issue, which is these grain ships in Israel. This is the second time this month that a ship has arrived in an Israeli port carrying what Ukraine says is stolen Ukrainian grain, meaning it's grain taken from occupied Ukrainian territory. And today, Zelenskyy is now saying that he will put sanctions. He's threatening sanctions on Israel for not coming down on this grain. And European partners may well be involved. And this marks a shift in the relationship between Ukraine and Israel, which have always shared a friendly but complicated relationship due to Israel's relations with Russia.
Audrey, many thanks for that. Al Jazeera's Audrey McAlpine in Kyiv.